I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no moon.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
Kenton, before we get into the latest episode of, I almost forgot it, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Called Skeleton Crew.
It's a play on words.
Is it? Oh.
There's a skeleton on the ship.
Yes, that's right.
And they are the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
It's literal and it's figurative.
Wow. Symbology. Anyway, that's not what that means. I was going to ask you, Kenton, have you heard the Beach Boys are coming to town?
Oh, I'm so excited. Just kidding. Yes, I heard they're coming to town. That's great. Mike Love is 90 years old. Nobody likes work. Nobody likes work.
The only original one that's going to be there? Or like...
Apparently, he is so horrible to work with as a person.
Oh, no.
That and he has been his entire career and continues to be, that it's always him and a new cast of rotating characters.
Yeah. The name going. Did you watch the documentary on Disney Plus that came out a little while ago?
No, I did not.
I was not happy with it. I love the Beach Boys. Actually, that was my first concert as a 10-year-old.
Oh, I remember that.
Boys,
yeah,
in the 80s.
Kokomo was big when they came through.
Huge hit, and it was a packed arena. It was really, really great. And so I've always loved the Beach Boys. My dad listened to them. I grew up listening to them, and I was looking forward to. I really started like the beginning of the documentary, and it kind of started. It was very kind of fluffy, promotional towards them. I don't think Brian Wilson said a single word in any interviews. They showed him they showed old clips from old interviews, but they didn't show anything new except for him reuniting with the other members of the Beach Boys on the beach. They literally just shot them sitting down at a patio table on the beach talking in white shirts. And that was it, just kind of B-roll while we had, the other guys who actually were interviewed for the thing. I guess they couldn't get anything coherent out of Brian Wilson, or he just didn't want to be interviewed. I don't know.
I went to see Brian Wilson the last time he played here. By the way, fantastic concert because he's got the world's greatest musicians touring with him, right, including some ex-members of the Beach Boys. And they played Pet Sounds, which is what you want to hear. It was just really a great show. But even there, and it was great to see Brian Wilson front and center on the keyboards. He sings some songs, and some others he's playing a support role. But you could even see then, this was probably 10 years ago. Yeah. You could even see then.
They're in their 90s.
I mean, his mental health chronicles have been, they have been well documented.
Well, okay, not very well, somewhat documented in this documentary.
John Cusack's movie.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it's actually, I thought it was okay.
Okay, I was like, really? Cusack is Brian Wilson?
It's actually pretty good.
All right, I'll watch it. Okay, but no, what I was going to say was that the documentary leaves out one key detail in this whole story, and that is the death of Dennis. They just gloss right over it. They barely mention Dennis dies, boom, move on. They don't actually talk about any of it, what actually happened or how he actually died or anything. I had to go look it up. I'm like, how did he die again? I had to check out, how did Dennis Wilson die? And I mean, it wasn't a hugely complicated thing, but they could have taken some time to do it. And it was clear that they had the direction. We don't want to dwell on the negative. We want to focus on the positive and the lovey and all this other stuff. Although there was quite a bit of negativity in the story, right? Of course, the abuse from their father and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, it was weird that they wouldn't, maybe it was too much for them to do. Anyway, I don't know why I'm going on about this. I just thought that was interesting. And I do not want to see them again as old men. I just kind of want to remember them as when I saw them at 10 years old. That was perfect.
Okay.
It was the best time to see
I'm going to ask you if you remember something from that concert. I remember two things from that concert. The thing number one, everybody move back 5 feet or the Beach Boys won't play. Do you remember that? Everybody on the floor has to move. Yeah, it went on and on. They probably did that 6 times before the band would come out. That's what I remember. And I just remember just everybody being like, Jesus, can we get this?
Sitting?
I was on the side, so I remember looking down.
I was up in the top.
I remember looking down. The problem was the people on the floor. I think there maybe wasn't seating on the floor. I have
vague memories of announcements, but I wasn't paying attention to what was happening.
So I remember that. And then I remember at a certain point in the concert, they let so many fans on stage that I couldn't tell the fans from the Beach Boys at a certain point. Do you remember? I just got confused. But I mean, it's all party beach music, right? So they want people on there, whatever, with their hula hoops, whatever they're doing on the stage, they want. And so sure, people take them up on it, but then who's the band?
I remember one of them getting up on surfboard in front of a screen behind him, and there was like a projected image of a wave, and he was like surfing on the surfboard.
Oh, yes.
It was the most basic effect you could ever imagine. And I don't know if it was Mike Love. I don't remember which one. I didn't really know who they were at the time, who was who. But I just remember that distinctly as far as like, it was maybe with Surfing USA. I don't know what song it was, but it was, he gets up at the surfboard and he's like pretending to surf on, it was just on like a platform.
But it was like a joke though, right?
I think so. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
I think in my mind, they were in on the joke, but maybe they weren't. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I was in the 100, the seats like right above kind of the stage. So that's what I remember. I remember Kokomo was big.
Yeah, I came out with a hat with that Beach Boys in the current, like what became their brand really, that current font they use.
Yeah.
The same one? Yeah.
There's an insect crawling on that pipe. I'm just going to point out.
All right. What do you want me to do?
We're sitting in, I think our listeners should know, we're in the basement and there's all kinds of creepy crawlies.
Oh, there we go.
All over the place.
Tons of traps around here as well.
Yeah. There's traps for vermin.
Kenton, what flag do you fly?
Not the flag of Mike Love.
Okay.
That was interesting. Okay, so here we go. Episode 4 we're on. And so big picture. Did you enjoy it?
I liked it. I loved it. Yeah. I can't say I remember. No, Atten is the name of the episode. And this, I don't know if I pointed this out before, but the episodes are named after something somebody says in each episode. So it's a quote, kind of copying The Amazing Race. So I liked it. Again, I continue to like this show. I think it's
I liked it too.
Characters. Yeah. We get to know Neel a lot more in this episode.
I love Neel. Who doesn't love Neel?
I don't know. Yeah, he's kind of adorable, actually.
Yeah, he is adorable. He's like the rotund boy from Stand By Me a little bit.
Yeah, or Chunk from Goonies, right?
Yeah.
Leafy. Yeah. Although they didn't, like in the 80s, that was okay to do that. Now they just make him the elephant kid.
Right. Now he's an elephant, but I'm along for the ride. I will say I maybe didn't quite like it as much as the prior episode that just gave us so much, including the well-built fuel line, which goes down in great Star Wars jokes history.
There was a good line, and there was one. He had one laughing. I thought it made me really laugh.
Yes, absolutely. But I think I like this, and this was directed by Everything Everywhere All at Once directors. It's two of them, I believe. Yeah. And I thought the last episode was a little more Everything Everywhere All at Once, and this one was less so. It was a little more. This one had some serious issues that it explored.
Yeah. So we start the episode. They arrive at the planet. They get the coordinates from Kim the previous episode, so they arrive at the planet. Now, I made predictions to say, I made conflicting predictions, I realized, in the last episode, and I said they were going to find Atten, but also find another planet in this network of secret planets. And as we find out, they did the second thing. They do find another planet. They think it's at Atten at first. They arrive, and they fly into the atmosphere. They're kind of snarky with Jude Law and tell him to stay in his place. But they find out when they get there that it's not. It's very different. It's like everything's in ruins. It's like the apocalypse has hit, and it's basically like Mad Max. It's kind of like that other planet. What was it? What was the one they went to? Was it the Mandalorian when they went to Mandalore, and there was like that big boat that they were on, that land boat?
Yes.
Remember that? It's kind of like that, right? They have tribes of people fighting against each other. It's chaos. The children are like warriors. Like, it's really kind of this cool, creative world, and I really did enjoy visiting that. That was fun.
Yeah, very much so. I thought I like the network of planets idea.
Yeah.
And I drew some lines together that we'll get to after I watch this episode about what's going on Atten. I have an idea, but let's talk about this episode first. I think I know what happened, but I could be wrong.
So they go off wandering around, and they make Jod stay at the ship with 33, and 33 goes into babysitting mode, which I thought was quite funny.
Great.
Come here, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. He's just acting. It's just hilarious.
It's good. And Jude Law, once again, I think he's an excellent actor. Let's start with that. But I also like this character. I hope they don't kill him.
Okay, good to know.
Well, you know what I mean. Like as we're getting closer to the end, that would be part of the kids growing up. Might be right, yeah. And I hope that's not there's no reason to think that other than if you're writing the story, that might be something you'd consider.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm starting to really like him as well.
Yeah.
And it is kind of completely unique character in this universe that we've seen. Although there's a little scoundrelly with him.
Yep.
Okay, so he stays there. He fiddles around. He tries now. Does he mess around with 33, or like when he says maybe I can help you remember at Atten, because he's trying to figure out. He figures out they're not on the planet because 33 knows that not. 33 knows where they are. He's got faulty memory circuits or whatever, and the kids go wandering off. The kids still think it's at Atten until they see like the destructed, or the tree was what clued them in.
I thought it might be a parallel universe at first.
Could be that too. Yeah, I thought that too. But it did occur to me early on that this was just another one of the planets in which something bad had happened, right?
Right.
Same type of planet, same situation, same setup. And everything is the same. They say there's a supervisor's tower. There's where our school is. There's like all these things that are the same buildings, but it's just all abandoned or all used in this other way. So, yeah. What else?
Right. So well, you asked, was he messing with the droid?
Yeah,
and he did. Well, clearly they left us on that beat of him. Let's see if I can help you remember. Let's see. And for all we know, he just rewired him to leave the ship so they could leave the ship.
Yeah, I was kind of confused because basically they go from that to him like, come on, leading him out. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but he's leading him out, and he's like the warriors, and he sees the warrior there, and he's like, oh, so from there we don't see him until way later, and I was confused about that jumping, but.
Yeah, there was a little bit. They left something open there, but I also think it might be very simply setting up what happens at the end of the episode when we need to stop this droid. I think that might have been that simple, but maybe not.
But meanwhile, the kids go off and examine the tree, and then they get captured by two other kids, children warriors. Or whatever, who've grown up in this world where kids are treated as adults.
Where kids are treated as adults, and therefore the kids are better actors in this world. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Did you notice how the rough the kids with accents that aren't American are better actors?
She was very good, actually.
Yes, she was very good.
It was really good.
Yeah, I thought she was quite good too, and I wonder if she also auditioned for the other role. That's what also occurred to me.
But I thought the one who plays Fern was pretty good in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
She has some good moments.
Yeah, I don't dislike that. Like, in the first episode, it called attention to itself a little just because there wasn't conflict going on. Whereas at this point, the characters have grown on me in a way that the Acolyte characters never did.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the kids are off with the pirate, what are they called? The Troiks?
Yeah.
Troiks or something like that. And so they're a clan.
Yeah.
And so we get to know them a bit. They're going to put them to work as warriors, I guess. They're going to see if they can fit in. So they just give them the blasters and say, hey, take some target practice and start shooting this stuff. And then we have, again, one of several conversations between Neel and this other character, this girl.
Those were sweet conversations.
Nice.
Yeah. They carried themselves. They weren't, I was a little worried at first. Where it's like, come over here and we'll have a chat. I was like, oh, no. Like I was waiting for a bad plot device or for acting that didn't sustain.
Romance. It wasn't
right.
about romance at all. It was just about friendship.
Maybe in a light way it was.
But it was like not really prevalent. But it was more about like two people who come from very, very different worlds bonding and just learning about each other. And so he talks about how everything's peaceful in his world and they don't have to be warlike on this, the way they are here. And he just says you just have to talk to each other. And meanwhile, the other ones are training, and then they go off on their mission. Yeah, planet does remind me of Atten. He sees the warriors. Yeah, and then they basically go off and they have to scout ahead while they're looking for the enemy, right?
Yeah, but the other good actor who appears in this episode is the guy in charge of these.
He looks familiar.
Yeah. I know, and I think I did look him up, and I can't. He has been in something we've seen before. I just can't remember what it is at this point. But he's good. But there was a dark side to this where it's like, yeah, we treat kids like adults here because we use you. You're the canary in the coal mine. You blow up, so we don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought they let off this guy a little bit easy in the episode because really it was child exploitation. It was war. It was like war criminal behavior that this guy was up to.
In that moment, it became apparent that they're prisoners in this situation. They're not free.
No,
they're making it seems cool. Oh yeah, we're letting you take target practice.
Yeah,
this other stuff, but it's like you guys are gonna have to go out and be target practice for the enemy.
Yeah,
and I did for a moment think that they're actually gonna make these kids fight. And put them into battle. I noticed that they everyone else had the equipment on, the helmets, and that kind of stuff. These kids had nothing. I also noticed a lot of nods to previous movies in this. They had the
Solo.
Oh yeah, the helmet.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
But also like the hover tanks, and I think those creatures, the herd of creatures, are from the Phantom Menace. I feel like that was in
Eopies.
yeah, Eopies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was them. And they didn't fart this time. They didn't give them a big scene where the Eopie turned around and let one rip.
No. Jar Jar wasn't around this time.
I thought that, but when I saw him, I thought he could be here. That it occurred to me that he could.
So, and then we learn, so they go off and they're forced to kind of, in this moment of like, there's this fog and they're terrified, and Neel is talking the whole time about how they shouldn't be fighting like this. And they step through and it's Jod, and like, it's someone we know. It's okay. It's going to be fine. And then he brings back their Eopies, and we learn that he paid for them with the Republic credit.
Right.
Now, Wim is upset about that. Why do you think he's so upset about that? Because that's his lunch money. Like, it's just lunch money. It's not like it really is a lot of money.
Well, we don't really like there. Part of the issue in this show about those credits is we haven't quite been let in enough on what this, like, we understand that the pirates saw them and that triggered them to go, wait a second, this is, we need to pay more closer attention to this. And we see him with them. We see, like, his dad was talking about lunch money at the beginning. Like, there's been a lot of talk about this money without really understanding its value or its consequences, or like what we're going to see a big pile of this stuff, I assume, when we go back to at Atten or something. There's going to be
treasure that they're actually.
I think there's going to be some payoff like that, but I don't think we know enough about what this is, what this represents. I don't think we do.
Another call back to another movie is in the scene where he's going to get food with the girl, and they're talking about the differences in their worlds and stuff. And in his bowl is like the kind of bun that Rey has in the Force Awakens. It kind of looks like that one that kind of forms after she puts some water.
Oh, everybody loves that dough. Loves to eat that dough.
So, and then he gives it to these kids who are starving, and so she sees he's a good person, and it just get lots of great character building for Neel. I really did enjoy learning more about him, and I found myself paying more attention as I'm watching the show. I'm paying attention to the animation. I'm like, are they animating his mouth? Because you can't see his mouth most of the time, but they are in certain angles. You can see his mouth moving, and so I think they do animate his mouth for all of his lines.
I've seen a behind the scenes, and it's actually the kid has got motion capture on his face.
Okay,
I think that whole thing is CG, believe it or not, because it looks very convincing. I don't know.
They're shooting the kid just had like a green thing on.
He's got the thing like the Andy Serkis thing that's on his face when he plays the chimp. He's got that. The kid has that on his, and the kid is cute. The kid looks like the elephant kid, a little bit. So I saw one quick behind the scenes featurette that showed him wearing that headset. Okay. So I don't know if the whole thing is CG or not, but it looks great.
All right, so then they meet Jod. Jod brings back the herd. Everyone's happy. Yeah. He's like, what would you like in exchange for this great favor you've done for us? He's like, I'll take the 4 kids back. He's like, you sure you wouldn't like some hides? He's like, how many hides? He's like, just
let's slaughter these Eopies right here. Come on, let's do it.
But this is a good moment. It shows the kids really, like, they are so relieved to see him. There is some bonding here. They're connecting. They're starting to care about him. He's starting to care about them. I think that's very apparent. Even Fern, who's been kind of rude to him and kind of jerked him the entire time, but she's very, very grateful to see him as well. So that was a nice moment when they reunite. And basically, and then we forgot about the part where the girl told them about the tower or whatever. They have to go and find out the coordinates to all the other planets. She said there's coordinates to planets that are like this. You might find the coordinates to Atten. Because what's the name of this one?
Akron.
At Akron.
At Akron, Ohio.
I knew you were gonna do quickly. At Akron, Ohio. Yeah, that's right.
That's what it looks like in Akron. No, I'm just kidding. But I like, once again, they look at the cityscape and they go, we have that school, we have that tower, we have that. So that's an interesting thing that's going on here.
Yeah. I think that it's, again, it kind of makes me feel like, again, Stranger Things. It's like the Upside Down is a parallel.
Maybe it's parallel. Maybe all these planets were built at the same time to safeguard some valuable resource.
Yeah, but they don't know, or each of it is a different piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. So then the girl does show them, because they've helped them, the girl shows them where the tower is, but then she says she can't go with them. So we have a nice moment where she says goodbye to Neel, and they keep bugging Neel to join them. And it's like, it was very nice. I liked all those scenes with Neel and the girl. I think that it was very well done.
Yeah, it was. And when he says, we're peaceful, you can come live Come live on our planet. That was so sweet.
Yeah,
It was just such a nice moment.
And she's kind of feels like she's powerless. She's like, when I'm in charge, maybe I can do things your way, but right now my dad's in charge and he's not good.
That's when I wanted to see the flash forward. I wanted to see when she's in charge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe one day we will see. Maybe we will get that. Maybe.
So then they get up to the top of the tower and they find all these columns with like carvings of these different planet names at Aten and at Akron, and some of the other ones. And the one with Aten, they all have coordinates. They all have galactic coordinates, which tell us where they are. And the one with Aten's coordinates is like the marble is smashed. Like there's a big chunk torn out of it, and they can't see what the coordinates are. And then we find out that the droid did it. 33 had done it when he had been here before with his previous master, and now he's just remembering it because he's here and finally remembering. So that was an interesting reveal.
Yeah, that was good. And then that's when the droid starts glitching.
But we have that moment where, Fern freaks out. She's like, "What's going on? Like, there's nothing. We can't do anything now." I mean, Jod does seem to give up pretty quickly on that. I'll say, like, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's it. It's out there. Good luck with that." And he walks off. And it's like, dude, come on, you got to figure something out here. Like, why not go?
It was right here. Did anybody back there ever see it?
My come on, is just go to one of the other plots. Whatever one is closest, go to that one. Find the same tower. It probably has the same setup there.
Right, you've got other coordinates. You can go there.
Yeah, there's of other towers.
Right.
So anyway, that was like, there's no need to get this upset at this moment, I kind of thought. But then in her argument with Wim about it, she realizes that she can override the droids. The droid's been ordered not to remember at Aten. That's why he says it weirdly whenever they mention it. Can't say I remember no Aten. And that's because he can't say it because he's been told not to. And so then she overrides that and tells him to remember. So he remembers a bunch of stuff, and then he remembers that his old captain wants him to tear them limb from limb. And it's just terrifying. He gets bigger, his arms hurt, and he gets like, limb from limb. He starts like going after them. He's
a Terminator at that point.
So it's like scary of holy shit. And so they're running away from him. And Neel again saves the day. He throws something at him to distract him and bring him over to him. And then while he does that, Jod's able to hit his deactivation switch. He's really quick on the draw and hits him in the hip and turns him off.
But I think that's why I think we'd be going, does every droid have that? Does everyone know where it is? It's because I think we saw him talking to the droid earlier in the episode. I think that was a setup for that. Maybe.
Sure,
but partially
it's also like he had to go get him. He knows where the switch is because he had to turn him on and off back when he was in the thing. And he even says always go for the off switch. Like just as in that moment, like it just makes complete sense what happened there. Although he kind of falls, like I expected him to fall and crush Neel, but he kind of like stops on his arms like that, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then Neel faints, and that's it. That's the end of the episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's really short. So it's frustrating that they end on these like really abrupt cliffhanger notes. But I guess now they have to. I think maybe they will do that. They will actually go to another planet and try and find the Aten coordinates there
we're halfway through the series, right?
Yeah.
So
they
probably
go to a couple more planets now before actually making it back to Aten
and piece together more of the mystery. And
you're probably right in that they won't get there until the last episode.
Maybe, but so here's what has to be the case looking at this episode. So the former captain who programmed the droid who crashed the ship is probably the supervisor on Aten now.
Huh. That's a good question. Yeah, because they kept talking about the supervisor, right?
So we have not met the supervisor. We have not seen or seen a flashback of the former captain. I think they're one and the same. I think he showed up at Aten and enriched himself and maybe is the dictator of Aten now.
Oh, what's that similar to? Is that
Donald Trump?
No. There's a classic story where a guy becomes kind of king of a people. Is it like Gulliver's Travels? Not really. No, what am I someone will tell me. A story where this guy like basically kind of can dominate because he has such knowledge.
There's lots of also switcheroo stories like that too, where the pauper becomes the prince, becomes the et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I don't know, but I think that has to be how it all ties together.
Okay.
In some way, I would imagine, because we know the ship crashed a long time ago.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. So then that guy's basically kind of found his place there. Maybe he's the one who created the shield. Like, we don't know. Like,
We don't know.
this planet didn't have a shield. That's one thing I noticed right away. Actually, at the very beginning is that it's not at there's no shield around it.
They found it, whoever it was. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So,
They could have got more information out of the Troiks. I thought we didn't get quite enough.
Know more about this other group that basically just like Jude Law just hangs out with them for a few minutes and then buys the creatures back. Like, it was very, very sus. And
when he dropped to his knees, he said, "Just shoot me." Oh God, just shoot me. Like
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That line, yeah.
Like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah,
I'm just done.
I've had enough of this shit. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
But he quickly talks his way out of it. Now, does he use a Jedi mind trick? Maybe.
They don't show. But
no, that's what I think. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But do you think we're going to come back to this planet, or are we done here?
I think we're done there.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to visit other planets. I think this is part of the journey. I thought in my mind, okay, if I were doing the series, how would I like to end it? Well, part of all of this that's exciting about this is you wonder what's the future story about this gang of kids. Like, what's that look like, and where do they go after this? And you know, I think the creators of the show have already said that they have a season 2 in mind.
Okay.
And I also think that they said that they would build into the fact that these kids will have aged by the time they do it, so that will, you know, there'd be a time jump. So I thought a bit of well, that's true. Well, we know. Well, I don't know if they did it as convincingly on Stranger Things as people give them credit for.
We'll see in the next season of Stranger Things.
They're 45. Yeah, they're 45 years old now. Yeah, they're older than me somehow. I don't know what happened, but they but I thought, okay, so I'm ending the series. I would love to see a flash forward. So you see behind them, they're sitting at the ship. Then we turn the camera around and they've aged. So it's like the same group except as adults, and they're going out on an adventure together. Boom, hyperspace, the end.
And 33 is still with them.
Right.
Yeah, because that's him. Like, he's turned off now, but they him and whatever. Like, even you can see KB's already starting to think about it. She's like, maybe I can fix his memory. Maybe he's only got a couple million connections or whatever. And so, yeah, I think they're going to have to restore his memory to find out a little bit more about what happened.
Yeah.
But maybe they have to keep retracing the steps of his other pirate, his other captain, to figure out how to get back to Atten.
Yeah. I think so. I think there's some very interesting things in play here, and I think the story is interesting enough that we're sort of home free now. I think it's a good show.
It really is
good writing.
Characters. Even Wim. It was annoying at first, but now he's kind of like, he's got a line. He's like, "Are you like an army of children fighting the adults who control the planet?" I'm like, that's hilarious. He's like this kind of wildly imaginative kid who has all these things running through his brain. So I'm starting to like him too, and they're all kind of growing on me. And again, Jude Law's great. And there's a lot of great detail. You know, that's what makes this different from the Acolyte, is the detail in the surroundings and where they find themselves. Everything's so rich. Like, I just want to pause it. The scene where they like see that there's that market, and they're getting food and all that stuff. Yeah. It's like, I want to pause it and look at all that stuff.
Oh, we saw a Rhodian in there. We saw some aliens we're familiar with from other Star Wars. Like, so that was kind of nice too.
It really, to me. So this is all like. And it is Old Republic, so this is, but it's still written in like this common language of this galactic language that they have, right? And they all still read the same language. So it's interesting that there's this kind of overarching communications network that has existed for so long they could just kind of automatically read. I mean, it was probably for convenience sake, so they don't have to translate anything, but still.
Well, yeah, they seem to be getting away from that anyway. Kids can't read anymore, so you know.
Right.
So they're not going to be doing many more subtitles.
I want to say I do watch this on Disney Plus with ads, supported with ads. And so this episode, this has got to be one of their biggest shows on. Like, I noticed that depending on the show, there's fewer ads there's more ads on the more in demand, the newer content. So I'm watching an old episode of something or an old movie, there's generally only like 1 or 2 ad breaks and that's it. But for The Mandalorian or for Skeleton Crew, because it is new, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ad breaks. The longest one of which is 1:30. So it's 15s and 30s, so it depends on that. But they're interesting. My favorite of these so far, and you may have seen this on other platforms, is this one about this couple where this guy's for Rogers, and this guy goes away for the holidays, and they keep in touch through voice and video calls. So like he's gone off somewhere, and then she's like, he's cooking with her, and they're staying connected. It's for Rogers, right? They're staying connected. She takes him to buy the Christmas tree, and now he's on the Roomba, and he's doing something funny because he's on an iPad. and they're staying together. And then finally at the end, Christmas Day, she's like, "Oh, I wish you were here." She's got the iPad set at the table. Oh, he's there. Look at that. He showed up. He came home for Christmas Day. What do you think of that?
Predictable.
Okay, there we go.
I thought I was going to see a big surprise at the end where
The surprise is that he shows up.
that's not a surprise.
Well, it's a surprise for her, not for the viewer, because it's what you would expect to happen.
yeah, it's not interesting.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I will say they also have like a little series. Again, this is what we talked about this before in a different podcast episode where like there's each one of those situations is an ad in itself. So like her buying a tree with him is like kind of like it's weird. She's doing selfies and stuff with it's like nobody actually really does this. But anyway, I just think it's interesting that that's how much advertising they're putting on there. And most of the ads other than that are for like Mufasa, the new Lion King movie coming out in theaters.
Yes, and I on my non-ad supported one got that at the beginning with a skip this if you want, except I couldn't skip it because it became evident that I hadn't updated my Apple TV in a while. And so I couldn't skip. The button didn't work, so I couldn't skip it. So I actually got that ad.
So even for the non-ad, that's interesting. They're really pushing that, eh? I don't know. I have no interest in that.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's like I was telling my girlfriend, it means more to me if it's a cartoon. Like the Lion King, the original Lion King means more to me as an animated cartoon because it has character and it's interesting to look at. If you're just gonna make them look like real animals, it just looks bland.
We're remaking something we've already seen.
Yeah,
maybe not everybody's seen it, but they should see it. Even kids should see the original one. And there's no point. So what? Make something new using that technology. Don't just remake the thing you already have scripts for.
Speaking of something new, let's get back to Skeleton Crew. So what are any other thoughts before we kind of wrap up?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next step in the journey. And Bounty Hunter didn't show up.
Right. We didn't see Bounty Hunter. We might still see that.
Yeah, I think we will see that.
We also didn't check in with the parents in this episode, so we have to check in with the parents back on that. And
maybe
what's going on. Well, they said that they're gonna I think the dad's gonna try and figure out how they get off and try to figure out. He's gonna try and figure out a way to send a message to the Republic, as he calls it, like the Republic. There's no old or new. He just calls it the Republic. So he thinks this is the galactic government that's in place that has not been in place since the.
Does he think that though?
I think he does. Yes.
Well, we'll find out.
Why don't you believe it? You see?
I don't know. I don't think we have enough information.
I think we definitely have enough information.
You think so?
And all these planets predate the Empire and the war.
But we don't know the shield. When was the shield?
Regardless of anything, the shield is still it's all still cutting it off since that time. So they have not had any outside contact. As far as the dad's concerned, they don't have any outside contact with the galactic. Oh no, he seems to think that they should have outside contact. Let's contact them and find out. It should be a normal thing to do. I don't know. Anyway, we got to check in with them and find out what's going on there.
Yeah, well, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe they're in the middle of the planning and whatever else they're going to do when the kids show up again.
I just thought that you seem to resist the idea that these planets avoided the war. These planets were not part of the Star Wars.
But they were. The last one was because it was blown to bits.
So we don't know what happened there. It could have been anher thing unrelated to the Empire. I think it was unrelated to the Empire.
No, I mean that the owl told us in the previous episode that they found that they found all but one.
The Empire found all but one?
That was the implication, I think. Was it not?
I don't know that part. I don't remember.
No, I'm just letting the story unfold. I just didn't, I don't know. Nobody knows until the story is finished unfolding.
All right.
But I like the idea of hidden planets. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Once you establish that, you can do it. You can do anything.
Yeah, that's right. You can pretty much. It's it is a treasure island situation, except with a planet.
Yeah.
They have to find these planets, and they have to follow a map, and they have to figure out the next clues, and that's all fun. And now we're gonna figure out, what is the next step for these guys. I don't know. It's good.
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying it. It's a good journey. I'm surprised that they're not ending it on Christmas week. That it's going to go past Christmas
week. We're not
week.
missing anything because of it, right? So
no.
Next Tuesday?
I think next Tuesday. Yep.
So, we'll get it next Tuesday.
Are they giving us the last two episodes at once? I don't know. They might be.
Well, I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
No, they're going to make a big deal about the finale. They like to do that, I find, on the platforms now. Season finale now streaming, and they do it on its own. So, no. Nothing else? No fun. What are other people saying about it? You said you watched a podcast about it.
No, I watched a couple of reaction videos online, and people are enjoying it like we are. I didn't see any theories apart from what you and I have already talked about, I didn't see anything. I just see people kind of enjoying the show. I don't know if this has reached a general large audience or not, or just a sort of a dedicated group of Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
but I think
so.
the Star Wars fans are enjoying it very much.
I agree. I think so as well. And it's hard to 10K. I started watching. Oh, what is the guy's name now? I can't remember. Did you watch the Simpsons Christmas special that's on Disney Plus?
I saw it being advertised, but I did not watch it. No,
I started watching it. I'm like midway through it. There's a couple good laughs in it, but the whole thing is on. The premise is this magician, this British magician who named Darren something. I can't remember his name. Darren Brown, is that a name you remember?
No.
Anyway, well, it's like some person I've never heard of, but it's clear from the episode, like the way they treat him is like, I should have heard of this guy. Hi, I'm so and so, Darren Brown, and it's the real guy doing the voice, and he's like the guest star of the show, and the whole thing is framed through he's got a lot of time. So I think the reason they do this is so they have one main guest star, and then they bring in the voice actors to do their little bit parts because they're all doing different things now in The Simpsons. Weird that they would frame it around this guy, this magician, British magician now, Darren Brown.
Couldn't tell you.
Hold on, it's here on Disney Plus. Let me just click on it and find out. He interviews the mayor. They kind of frame it like this: of he's going to try and turn the whole town around because there's no Christmas spirit. Like there's Mike Tyson too. Why are they referencing Mike Tyson? Is it because of the fight with what's it called?
Just people who have appeared on other Simpsons shows.
A lot of that. Darren Brown, yeah. I am mentalist and psychological illusionist Darren Brown. You've never heard of that person? No. It feels like they kind of make a joke about somebody not having heard of him in the episode, but it's like, this is weird.
That is weird.
So,
why does that even matter? Why does it need to be a magician and mentalist?
Well, because he hypnotizes Homer into thinking he's Santa Claus. That's what happens later in the episode. And the other interesting thing that happens is that Ned loses his faith. So Ned is like, is there really a God? He starts.
I thought we had that episode already many times, as a matter of fact.
But it's interesting that I didn't realize that Ned had a relationship with Mrs. Krabappel that I wasn't aware of because she died.
The wife died, yeah.
But also Mrs. Krabappel died.
What?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. I remember that was a news story somewhere. I saw that in the feed. And but Ned was like romantically involved with her, so he had 2 wives die on him, and now he's questioning whether or not God is existing. Anyway.
That doesn't sound funny.
No, well, there was a couple really good laughs, and
So a magician that nobody's a mentalist, no one's ever heard of, and tragedy for Ned. More tragedy for Ned.
Yes.
I don't think I'll watch that.
All right, never mind. Okay, come back next week when we'll talk about another episode of Skeleton Crew. That's it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabunker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Now I am the master.
I'm taking an awful risk, mate.